Ready?
And we are live. Welcome to Uncle Nearest Whiskey Wednesdays with Chef Phillip Ashley.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Chef Phillip. How are you tonight?
I'm doing fine. How are you too?
Doing great. We are so excited to walk through this Uncle Nearest truffle with you. This is amazing.
Make a little chocolate over here.
Yeah.
So mixing up a few things.
Ooh. Yes. Well, to give our viewers a little information about who Chef Phillip Ashley is, he's a self-taught chocolate chef out of Memphis, Tennessee. And you own the luxury chocolate boutique. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Very nice.
From Memphis, and we make chocolate for a living.
So Forbes Magazine calls you the real life Willy Wonka.
Yeah. So that that I thought that was really cool, and especially since I grew up loving the whole Willy Wonka story, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it was essentially the piece that really inspired me to make chocolate. So I always said, why isn't anyone putting a stick of gum in chocolate? And by that I meant, why aren't people making flavors that, kind of progressive, like when she ate the gum and it had the roast beef and the potatoes and then the blueberry. So we just try to avoid you blowing up, but other than that.
When I was a kid and I saw the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and that poor girl turned into a blueberry, it freaked me out. I was terrified.
I just watched that movie during quarantine, actually.
Oh, really?
The one with the
Gene Wilder or Johnny Depp?
Johnny Depp, yeah. Really good, yeah. Well,
this was a lot darker, but
it was good though. I love Johnny Depp.
That's Tim Burton for you. So,
well, I don't even think we introduced ourselves, did we, Ian? Or for those that don't recognize, I'm Chastity in Chicago, Uncle Nearest brand ambassador, and that is.
I'm Ian in Chicago, and I am also the brand ambassador in Chicago. I'm this young lady's partner.
Yeah.
And Chef, I have a couple questions about your shop. How long have you had your boutique?
Sure. So we originally opened in 2012, and then the first store or boutique opened in 2013. And then we've since moved. We were in the Cooper Young area at first for the first 5 years. And last year we moved to the medical district or Madison Heights area of Memphis. So more downtown. So,
great.
So 2013.
That's amazing. And I was just kind of curious, you are a self-taught chocolatier. How did you find that? Well, how did you come to chocolate and confection?
Yeah, it kind of found me. Literally woke up 3 o'clock in the morning. At this time, I was living in the Baltimore area, or living in Baltimore, actually. But I literally woke up, had a dream. Was like, man, I'm gonna make chocolate. I said, I'm gonna be a chocolatier. The thing that I was saying, I was like, how cool would it be to say I'm a chocolatier? Because I had increasingly been cooking and started looking into culinary school and kind of thinking about, what direction that I want to take that sort of deal. But like I said, inspired from a dream, and it just became an obsession. Truly one of those things. I started looking at ways, I originally, do I need to go to culinary school or what? And just kind of realized, well, I can do this on my own. And so I spent time traveling, learning, reading, kind of devouring information and tasting a lot of chocolate. Yeah, that's right. Tasting a lot of chocolate along the way, really just to figure this whole thing out for myself. And, thankfully ended up being some kind of gift that I had. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, very inspiring.
In the spirit of that, what are you going to be whipping up for us tonight?
Yeah, so we're doing a little something called, so actually kind of where I started. One of the first things that I said I was going to do was like, I'm going to make old world truffles, hand roll. We're just going to keep it rustic and traditional. And then somebody needed 5,000 of them. And I was like, messed that one up. So basically, these little babies right here having a roll this times 5,000. This is just a truffle, a ganache center, rolled in a little bit of dark chocolate shell, to create a little shell, and then some nice cocoa powder. But
Yeah.
the cool thing about these babies are they have some of your amazing 1856 premium aged whiskey in it. There's just a little riff off of a old-fashioned cocktail, so a little orange zest, a lot more whiskey, some heavy cream, and some good dark chocolate. So,
Sounds so good.
that's what we're making.
Cool.
And just, yeah, so, and I can run through this fairly quick for everyone. And there's really two schools of thoughts or two methods, for making truffles in this way. And most of the time, most folks, if you look online, it's okay. You may see that my chocolate is actually melted already. I started tempering just through a method called seeding. I like to temper my chocolate, melt it and have it tempered when I make ganache centers. It just creates a smoother mouthfeel. It's just one of those preferential things. A lot of times you'll see solid chocolate, which I have some, you'll see kind of, this Calais or chips or whatever you're using. And in typical methods, they'll say, okay, pour hot cream over the cold chocolate and let it melt down and do its thing. Either way, at the end of the day, you're going to end up with something like this. So I have my chocolate. So I use 16 ounces or a pound of chocolate for you folks. And then we're going to use about 4 ounces of heavy cream that I just slightly heated. I brought up to temper as well. You don't want your cream boiling. Obviously, you don't want it start cold either, but just the same temperature as the chocolate, and that's so you don't break temper. And again, that's just a whole structural thing. We don't have to go into all that, but just trust me, it's just better. So, we're going to add that in there. And basically, as they say, what you're looking for is chocolate mayonnaise. And so, as you see me stirring in the center here,
okay,
you'll see it start transforming. It's getting thicker. It's really just waiting for a drink of whiskey, like I am.
All right.
Yeah, I believe in that.
Well, we already started, Chef. So.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, I did. I had some before too, so we're all on the same page here. And I got some set up. Look, the kitchen gets if the dish gets whiskey, the chef gets whiskey.
That's right.
So we all drink it.
Absolutely.
And I have a rule in my house when I have friends over. It's like when you cross the threshold, you have to take a shot of whiskey. Sometimes, so it's like, hey, we need to hit this up, and then like these little jam jars. But so I have 2 ounces, so a healthy portion of your 1856 premium age whiskey.
So if you're doing 2 ounces of whiskey, how much chocolate is paired with that whiskey in the overall?
That was a pound, right?
It was a pound, so 16 ounces. So basically, 16 ounces of chocolate to 6 ounces of liquid. I step up the chocolate a little bit more. Typically, if you're not using whiskey, you'd use roughly about 12 ounces of chocolate to 6 ounces of cream, but the whiskey is obviously a lot thinner, so it thins it out more. So I increase the chocolate to balance out because you want, the ratios and the consistency changes. But I zest it, as you'll see, is one of my favorite tools. This and fish spatulas are probably two of my favorite. But I got a orange here that I zested half of it. And what I actually did here was I went ahead and put the zest in the whiskey, and I've let this sit. I think I did this earlier today.
Just macerates in there? Just
macerating there, but really perfuming the whiskey because, we eat with our eyes, but we taste with our nose. So just very aromatic and that sort of thing. And so I just let it do its thing. So that goes in there as well. And as you see, what chocolate, cream, orange zest, and then the most important thing, whiskey, 4 ingredients. So this isn't one of those, like you got to go and put 50 things together. And this is also one of those things, you bring this to the party or something, unless you want constant attention and constant ask questions about, hey, are you going to make that again? Don't make this. But if you don't mind the limelight, bring this out, because whiskey and chocolate.
Whiskey and chocolate is so good.
Yeah, bring a bottle too, right?
Right.
So, bring the bottle.
Seems pretty easy to make at home.
Pretty simple. And so, you know, and I'll send you guys, and we'll put online the instructions. You know, we make this look easy, but it is easy. Just follow a few simple instructions. And
so, if someone was trying to make chocolates at home, they're an amateur, they're just trying out for the first time, is truffle the way to go?
This would be a good start, yes.
Okay.
And so what we have here, typically, there's now from this point, as you see in the bowl, we've got just this chocolate mayonnaise, if you will, but it's just nice and full of whiskey, and orange zest, really nice 70% dark chocolate from Ghana, actually. So you can do two things. Most instructions will tell you, hey, you know, take a little plastic wrap, cover the top surface of this ganache. This is ganache now.
Okay.
I always like saying that word, but so this is ganache. Top, you know, cover that, then let it just chill in the refrigerator for several hours, and it'll solidify. And you can just take like a little mini ice cream scooper, mini melon baller or something, and then you'll get your shape, and then you can kind of hand roll. So what we do in our shop, we probably make about 10 times this amount in one batch.
Just a smidge more?
Just a smidge, just a touch, and a lot more whiskey. But so you can also put it in a cool piping bag. The good thing is you can get a lot of this stuff on online and a lot of other places. But so put it in a piping bag. I'll just let it chill out for a second. I'm gonna grab one more thing real quick.
Okay.
Show you kind of what the next step while that's chilling. Blah, blah. And
so far, you've done two things that I'm terrified of: piping bags and tempering chocolate.
Why are you doing piping bags?
Tempering chocolate is an intimidating thing, particularly, you know, in places like Memphis. It's humid.
Right.
You know, I've done it so much now I can just do it. But the goal is obviously, you know, being in a temperature controlled area. But we have these cool little truffle molds here now. If you want to get fancy and kind of probably find these in most pastry shops nowadays, this is just a ball truffle mold. You know, so we would fill that, and then, you know, when you have tempered chocolate, this could sit out, or we put it in a cooler, and 10 minutes later, you've got these little balls that start popping out.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So is your kitchen or an area of your kitchen pretty temperature controlled so that the tempering can take effect?
For the most, yeah. Now the kitchen at our shop is always like 64 degrees.
Oh, blessed day. That sounds great.
So hot summer days, just come into our shop and you'll be all right. But you know, in here, I did turn it down a little bit because you know, chocolate in warm weather or chocolate and obviously, you know, don't go together. Yeah, chocolate definitely melts. And so what else I did here, as you can, in this step right here isn't necessary. But I think it just adds a nice.
Ooh, are you gonna dip it in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just kind of like I was saying a minute ago, you know, seeding the chocolate.
Ooh.
But just for demonstration's sake, normally this will take a couple minutes, but we'll just run it through real fast. So we got a couple things. We've got our chocolate right here, the actual truffles, and then we have our chocolate and our cocoa powder. See, I don't have a ton, like the bowl isn't full. Maybe if I hold it up, the bowl isn't full because we're not trying to douse it or get a super thick.
You're just trying to get a layer of it.
Just a nice little textural contrast, a little pop, you know, or a snap.
Are you a Dutch cocoa guy or are you a regular cocoa guy?
Regular. A lot of cocoa. We don't really get any Dutch process for the most part. You know, but I've used Dutch before as well, so it just depends on what we're doing, to be honest with you. But let's see, what else am I missing? Nothing. All right. So, oh, that's what I was. Now, again, this is another thing you don't have to do unless you know, some people want to lick their fingers and stuff after the fact, but we keep it clean. We keep it clean around here.
So we have a question from Dana Woods. So that on that tray, that's the interior of the truffle. Then you're going to roll it in the ganache and then dust it with the cocoa. Is that correct?
Right. Now this thing right here is the ganache. This ball right here is the whiskey and orange zest infused ganache. It's just solidified and round now.
Perfect.
So, and so we're going to take this, just really quickly. And I'm not even going, if you can see, I'm not even going in the center of the bowl. I'm really just rolling it around towards the edge of the side of the bowl. And that's really to allow me to create like ridges. So, you know, after the fact, it'll just have that, again, texture. It'll kind of be rough and rugged, because it's a traditional truffle. It's not all cute and pretty.
It's gonna be adorable.
Right.
So good.
Right. Oh, they're delicious. But the truffle, the original truffle, and the reason why they look like they do is because they reminded people of, you know, take a look at this. They reminded people of the Perigord or the black truffle.
The mushroom?
The mushroom, yes.
Okay.
That you would get in the woods in the forest. So that's where that's why they call them truffles, because when they were hand rolling them and they have these kind of rough edges and shapes and in the cocoa powder. So, you know,
makes sense.
Where that comes from. So now we did a couple of those. We simply just boom, boom, boom. And then, you know, you just shift it around, let it chill out in there. And then you do it another 4,996 times.
So 4,596. Okay. Taking notes.
Right. So you got to be committed. That's the one thing, you know, chocolate requires patience and, you know, being able to do the same thing over and over and over and over again perfectly. So that's one of the reasons, you know, particularly when we're doing all of these intricate chocolates and these different flavors, you know, the time and the effort and the precision that goes into even making something like this, you know, a quarter ounce too much or of whiskey, or, you know, a couple degrees too hot, in terms of that, you know, these bad boys turn out, you know, not so bad. So, so that's kind of the goal, is to be consistent for sure. And then, like I said, you'll end up with something people will enjoy.
So after you double dip those, they're ready to eat.
Oh yeah. After that, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's just time to go to town. So
now, Chef,
like I said,
are these available for sale at your shop or online?
So our shop is online exclusively right now. And so yes, these are online. The Uncle Near's old fashioned truffles. Now we do go a step further with these online, so we wrap them in gold foil and put 12 pieces in a box, but you don't have to do all that at home. So unless you just try to be fancy. So
wonderful.
I like to be fancy.
So
but yes, these are on phillipashleychocolates.com, and you can get those now.
Awesome.
Phillip Ashley Chocolate. I'm going to buy some.
Yeah. Now you have a few more Uncle Nearest inspired chocolates.
Yeah, we do. So cool thing is, one of our most popular items is a blonde whiskey turtle. So a turtle that we make is just a lot bigger. They're 4 ounces a piece, and you get 3 in the pack. And so roasted Delta pecans, I make the caramel and infuse it with the Uncle Nearest 1856 whiskey. And then we dip them in something called a blonde chocolate. So it's not milk, It's not dark. It's kind of like the caramel, salty, shortbread like chocolate, and it's so good. So we have those. Those are in a pack of 3 for $25. So you get, good 12 ounces of caramel chocolate and pecans. And then something we just put online is actually out for pre-order right now. Literally just put it on there today. We're creating an Uncle Nearest by Phillip Ashley collection. And so this is going to be really cool, real special actually. So 24 bonbons, 6 different flavors. So there's things like, we have one called Nearest Green, which is using the flagship whiskey, 1856, blending it with milk and dark chocolate. There's one in there called Lincoln County, kind of playing off of his whole process. Yeah. And so did research, and I made an 1856 infused sugar maple tree sap caramel. Then we finish it with charcoal salt, because the whole process that he created. So so a salted caramel, but it's chocolate, black salt. So
do y'all hear this, viewers? Y'all better get to that website. As soon as we log off, I'm going to place my order.
Right. So we even did one for the founder Fawn. It is a 1884 and orange blossom honey chocolate.
Very nice.
A small version of that turtle that I mentioned. So basically like a turtle bite, the caramel, the whiskey caramel, the pecans, but that's in a milk chocolate shell. And then actually I'm a big margarita fan. So, but we did, of course, you don't make tequila. So what we did was, instead of calling it margarita, I called it Geraldine, which is my dad's mother. So my paternal grandmother. And so we made, one of our most popular chocolates is a margarita chocolate. So I basically made that, but used 1856 instead of the añejo tequila that we would normally use. So
that's amazing.
And it has salt on it as well, kosher. But yeah, that's a just a little glimpse into what that box is. Just really cool, really special, all really nice size pieces. Yeah,
sounds delicious.
Time and effort. My dad was a history teacher, so that's where all this, looking at the past stuff comes from.
Yeah.
So,
now I'm kind of curious, because you said you're from Memphis originally,
right?
And you've been a supporter of Uncle Nearest for a long time now. So
you're day one, right, Chef?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that one.
I said you're a day one, right? A day one fan, supporter.
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. So I caught wind of it very, very early.
Okay, yeah. How did you find the story? How did it come to you? I mean, being from Tennessee and all, I'm sure
the thing about it is, right, that's a part of it. But one of the things, I'm always reading, going online, researching, asking questions, drinking for the sake of study. In terms of
I'm studying right now.
It's research, people. It's research. Okay. But no, I am a very curious person by nature, and I think that is really exemplified in our chocolate. And so just through that normal process, I came across, and I'm a big whiskey fan, and some friends of mine even are whiskey sommeliers, and just talking to them over the years, I learned about new things coming along. A good friend of mine, Susan and Phillip, they turned me on to a lot of things too. So, just talking to people, and just, again, one day came across it. I was like, oh, this is cool. And even some friends of mine had an event at my shop, and Uncle Nearest was a part of it. So it just kind of kept crossing paths, you know what I mean? So it just kind of made sense at some point to make something with it, particularly since it is such a great whiskey. There's a lot of options out there, but when you're one of the best, it makes it a lot easier to figure it out. So.
Well, thank you so much
on behalf of the entire team.
Yeah, it's I can't wait to try these chocolates. I can't wait to have them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, those are online too. And we're, like I said, pre-orders now. And we start shipping them on the 8th because, you know, we gotta do all the painting and everything. And plus I just wanted to, you know, make people wait a little bit, but
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that.
right.
So when you're working with whiskey or any kind of spirit for that matter, what kind of, what challenges does that present in making any kind of chocolate, any kind of confection? Is it a fairly easy medium, or does it mess things up a little bit?
You know, now just because I've been doing it, you know, essentially the entire time, I've always used some type of whiskey or, you know, some type of spirit or wine. But the challenges that come about are typically with viscosity, and like, you know, changing the ratio. You have a ganache that's too thin, or you're not using enough of a said substance, and you don't taste it at all. Usually, not tasting it is typically not an issue with alcohol or spirits, but, you know, having a consistent product that doesn't break and has a great mouthfeel, all the things that people look for in a truffle and a chocolate, you know, understanding formulas. And so I write all my own formulas, you know, or recipes. And, you know, just again, through time and effort and studying and, you know, this is not so good, that's great kind of thing, you know, that whole process. And now, again, getting to a point to where my skill would meet my imagination, because in the very beginning, my imagination was like 30 years ahead. So, you know, getting to the point to be able to take what comes in my mind and put it into a chocolate. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, you have a great quote on your website. I learned the rules so I could break them. And I think that's exactly it. You know, learning the technique only means that you can mess around with it and explore.
Absolutely. You know, the fundamentals are always, you know, my dad's a basketball coach. And so, you know, the fundamentals only make you that much more competitive in particularly when you want to ad lib. So, you know, learning the rules was something I had to do. So then I could do what I wanted to do and put blue cheese in a chocolate, or, you know, do sugar maple tree sap caramel.
You've done that before, Chef? You've put blue cheese in a chocolate before.
One of our most popular
I mean, that sounds amazing.
Is a French blue cheese truffle. It's white chocolate. Yeah. So
mine is blown. I've never heard of that before.
We've been doing these virtual tastings since the pandemic has been in effect, and or stay at home. And so one of the things that we've done each week is kind of explore different regions of the country or different themed tastings, like, you know, Taste of New Orleans and so on. You know, next week we're going out to California, and, you know, one of the stops is Napa Valley in chocolate. And so one of those pieces is an apricot gorgonzola dolce. So another one with blue cheese. So
now, how do we attend those virtual tastings?
So the virtual tastings are also, everything's on the website. So phillipashleychocolates.com, you'll see our tastings, the ones that are coming up, and then, you know, any product releases. But even more so, if you follow us on Instagram at Phillip Ashley, and that's Phillip with 2 L's. You know, you'll see everything that we do and can get and navigate to all of that. So,
Well, Chef, tell us how COVID-19 has affected business. And I know the word of the year is pivot. Everyone is pivoting.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about how it has affected your business, and what are you guys doing differently right now to continue your business?
Right. I mean, you're absolutely right. You know, pivoting, and, you know, it was a challenge. It's been a challenge, just like, you know, for most, I would imagine. You know, in the beginning, it actually started impacting us, you know, several weeks prior to many others, because a lot of the things we do are B2B related. And, you know, we had these, you know, month-long pop-up shops in place. One of the first cities we were going to do, and we were supposed to be in Seattle all of March. Well, Seattle was one of the first cities to start shutting it down, late February, actually. So, between that and between a lot of the business gifting, a lot of the festivals and big conventions and things that were going to be happening, that was a good piece of what we are involved in. And that almost instantly went away. But the cool thing about it, it has allowed us to essentially be that virtual chocolate boutique that I've always envisioned us. And so having the idea to do the virtual tastings, because I remember I was just like, okay, I got to figure something out. No one's coming into the store, and all of the business stuff that we were doing is gone. So okay, we need to do something. And by the way, I had all this chocolate I just made for a lot of this stuff. So we're sitting on chocolate that would just essentially we would have to throw away after a while. So that was the other. So that was the other press. I was like, my insurance company's gonna love this. So, so anyway, it was like, okay, well, we do these tastings. We used to do them publicly. We had just done one on leap year. February 29th, we did an all Black tasting. And so it was one of those things where we celebrated the Black wineries around the country. We had everybody wear all Black. We did it at a Black establishment and all of that sort of stuff. Nice. But it was a silent tasting. So if you've been to a silent party, have either of you been to a silent party?
No, that sounds terrifying.
I heard of them, but I'm
no.
Okay.
Right. So talk too much.
Nope. Right. Well, basically, what you do is you wear headsets, much like what you have on, and the DJ plays the music through the headset. So you'll walk into a room and see a bunch of people dancing, and it's quiet. Ooh. You're like, what is going on? But they have headsets, right? So anyway, I took that concept and said, well, let's sit people down at the table. Let's put headphones on their head. I can talk to them through the microphone, and I can have a DJ. We use a DJ named Alpha Whiskey, and so I sent her the flavors, and we worked on creating a playlist for each chocolate. So we had different flights, and so every flight of chocolate was paired, or every chocolate was paired with a different wine, and every wine and chocolate was paired with 4 different songs that kind of went along with it. So we basically took that concept to Zoom, and long story short. And so this Friday is our 11th week doing that, and we're doing Taste of New York. So this week we have chocolates that kind of mimic or that play off of Junior's cheesecake. We have one for Ellis Island, if you want to know what the Statue of Liberty tastes like. Very creative. Right. There's a ramen one in there.
Ooh.
I
want that.
Yeah, there's an apple one that's for, of course, the Big Apple. But then we're pairing it all to, Broadway and show tunes. So you'll have some Liza Minnelli in there.
That's right up your alley.
I would be all about that. That sounds great. Yeah.
There you go. So that's what we're doing. And so we do those, and we'll have them in, I haven't set up the July ones, but actually the July 3rd one will be whiskey and chocolate, and we're going to be, pairing and exploring chocolates that go the ones that are in that box for, and with some 1856. So
wonderful. Yeah. So some Uncle Nearest.
That's what we've been doing.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a great way to keep your fans and audience engaged and continue buying chocolates. I love that idea.
Right.
Well, I love chocolate.
Drink a bottle of wine and not have to drive. So a double win right there.
They're wearing elastic waistbands. They're drinking wine, and eating chocolate.
And we can eat chocolate and not feel so bad because we're all in quarantine. And we need to treat ourselves. We deserve to indulge a little bit because we're all trapped.
Absolutely. And I promise, I think we have one couple. I was like, I think they're only wearing shirts, but okay. So,
that's fine.
I mean, you're at home, do your thing.
You pick it up. Yeah, exactly. We're all at home.
Right.
Zoom is chest up. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So July 3rd, you're gonna do a virtual chocolate tasting. That's gonna feature Uncle Nearest, you said?
Yeah. So starting July, the first and third Friday at 7 o'clock Central, we'll do a virtual tasting, and we'll do these throughout the end of the year. And we'll just mix it up in wines or whiskeys and so on. But July 3rd, yes, that'll be the one. That'll actually go up on the website tomorrow, I believe. But we'll explore some great chocolate and some awesome whiskey.
So you heard it here first. July 3rd with Chef Phillip.
Yes.
Everybody join in.
Have to get you guys to come back on and talk about it.
Oh yeah, we would love that.
We'd love to, absolutely.
Yeah. If you need a little, we're happy to do that.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Well, can we talk about some of your career highlights? You've recently been on Chopped Sweets.
Yes.
Tell me about that. What was the experience like? So cool.
It was great. It was insane, actually. And I was definitely happy and fortunate to be on there. I remember getting a call like October, something, late September, early October. Said, "Oh yeah, we found your information, blah, blah, blah. We want to talk to you." Okay. And so we did a few FaceTime interviews and that sort of thing. And I said, "Yeah, we may give you a call sometime in between now and May, or whatever." And then I was like, "All right, cool." And I'd kind of go on and, not thinking anything about it. And then like 2 or 3 days later, and I'm thinking I'm not going to hear anything for a while. 2 or 3 days later, like, "Oh yeah, we need you to come up here in 2 weeks." I was like, "Oh, dang. Okay." So now I got to figure all this stuff out. So I'll tell you, what you see on TV is real. Like there's no, like I staged this so we could make this go faster. And so this would be, a fluid process, so to speak. It's absolute chaos on that show. So you don't know what's in, you don't know what's in the kitchen, and there's everything there. So trying to find one thing is crazy. It's impossible. And then, that 30 minutes, that 45 minutes, that 60 minutes. So I was on the dessert version. So, so Chopped Sweets, and I was on the chocolate episode. Well, my whole thing was like, look, if I do nothing else on this show, I'm going to complete a chocolate. The problem with that is making a chocolate in 30 minutes or making it in 45 minutes or making it in 60 minutes is hard. It takes longer, that whole process. Add to the fact you don't know what you're going to put in it. So, so anyway, several 3 rounds. I did make it through to the finals. Just barely. I have my own thoughts about it. Just got barely. I'm gonna have to talk to those judges about that.
That's who haven't seen it yet, though.
Okay. Well, you haven't seen it. I got you. So, it aired on February 10th.
Okay.
So,
okay, I'm gonna go look for it.
Well, so please go look for it. But it was a great experience. It was probably one of the most grueling experiences physically and mentally, because I literally taped from about 5:30 in the morning to 6 o'clock, or 1 o'clock the next morning. So it was just that much work. So it's serious. And then, like I said, you have 30 minutes to figure out a composed dessert, which, by the way, typically takes more than 30 minutes or 60 minutes. And, if you're baking or whatever. But, I made it happen. Yeah.
You did well.
Good showing. Yeah.
You did well.
Well, congratulations
and it was fun.
Being on that show.
So with that show like that, Chassie and I, we live in a spirits world. That sounds kind of supernatural. Where it's pretty small. We know everyone. So did you other than reputation, did you know the other contestants, or had you worked with the judges or contestants before?
I had not worked with the judges. I knew who they were. One was a pastry, or actually both of the judges were pastry chefs, and then Scott Conant was the host/judge. So I was obviously aware of him from just previous, and just knowing about New York food and that sort of thing. I did not know the other 3. 2 were from the New York area, and one was from the young lady that ended up winning lived in Baltimore. I think she was from somewhere else, but hadn't heard of them before. Again, I don't think they necessarily look for people that you or may know or not, but I didn't know them. So,
Okay.
but I know them now, which is more important. So,
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
And
but go ahead.
I have a question about chocolates and traditions.
Okay.
You traveled, you've learned, you studied. You're now you're a wonderful chef. What traditions in chocolate and chocolatiering are you borrowing from? Are you looking at Belgium? Are you looking at Switzerland? Like, where are you most inspired?
Honestly, all of it. I think that's the biggest thing. I've read up on what the French do, the Belgians do, what the Germans do. What the of course, even Swiss and that sort of thing, and the techniques and the flavor. But more of what I did and more of where I spent my time, rather than different regions of technique, were really I spent a lot of time learning about food and drink and herbs and salts and sugars and all this other stuff. I wanted to be an encyclopedia of ingredients. And so knowing how to manipulate this or that. So honestly, less of what people were doing with chocolate, but I would read about, well, what is a Scott Conant doing with food? Or what is a, Marcus Samuelson doing with food? Or what is Kelly English, which is a chef down here, doing with food? That kind of thing, and so on. Or how are they preparing food in Africa? Or what processes are they using, and what herbs and spices and all these things. And so that's where we're incorporating that into our chocolate. So less of technique, because I kind of understood, I knew which direction I wanted to go from a style and a technique, and a lot of that was really kind of creating my own. Tempering chocolate is tempering chocolate,
right?
That kind of thing. Once you figure that out, it's figured out, and now we have machines that do it.
Right, and I would add that it's terrifying to do at home. Just throwing it out.
Right. It's not the easiest to do, for sure. Especially, people. Oh yeah, that's cool. And why is my chocolate looking ashy? So to speak, that's that sugar bloom, because it's not tempered. But no, that's what I spent more time is in truly learning about the world of food and drink, even, and how do people express themselves with food. Because while it is that I'm making chocolate, but it is a food item, it's a food group, in my opinion, or in actually reality. But how is Ghana harvesting the cacao, and what type of beans are they using, or where is it coming from out of South America, and so on and so forth, and what soil properties, and all the things that you hear from people that talk about whiskey and wine and so on. So yeah, I spent more time doing that kind of thing, and add that to this kind of Star Wars cartoon, and Willy Wonka, Alice in Wonderland imagination. And hopefully people enjoy what we're doing. But that's primarily the goal, is to learn everything I could and continue to learn everything I can about food, about spirits and such, and then pair that with, let's make a sea urchin caramel. Let's make an uni caramel. Let's do some a monkfish liver chocolate mousse.
Okay.
Let's put blue cheese in chocolate.
And that leads me to my next question. I was going to ask you, like, what is the most uncommon or strange or weird, or however you want to word it, chocolate pairing that you have done? Or innovative?
Well, I think yeah.
Everything you just said.
Urchin caramel is probably the most crazy. That I would, we've done a lot. We beer hops and bee pollen, and
that sounds delicious.
Yeah, blue cheese, of course. I've mentioned that several times, but I tell you, that blue cheese one. And the funny thing about that is, when we talk to people or we're at events and say you hate blue cheese, and we're somehow able to finally convince you to try that chocolate. The people that love that chocolate the most are the folks that would swear they will never touch blue cheese in any other capacity. They can't stand it, don't want it. But with that chocolate, they love it. So,
well, what do you do to the people? Well, I guess really nothing. This might be a stupid question, but I know a few people that just don't like chocolate, that are
sure.
not chocolate fans.
Right.
Is there a way to persuade them? Is there some form of chocolate they should have? Or I don't know. I just find that weird when I meet people who like chocolate.
Right. Like they still make you? No. But,
so, no shade to my no people.
Hey, we love them too, because funny story, or in real talk, the thing that's, I think the dope thing is some of our best and biggest customers and fans are people that don't typically like chocolate. Wow. I've heard it numerous times over the years, like, oh, I don't really like chocolate, but I love yours, and we hear this too. Oh, I don't like said ingredient, but I love it in the chocolate, kind of thing. We did a chocolate last week, or we did all caramels last week, and one of the caramels is a lavender infused one. And several people are like, I hate lavender, but I love it in this caramel. So again, I think a lot of it is not so much people, whether you like chocolate or not, let's try this. This is something different. It's chocolate at the core, but it's a lot more than that. And again, we're putting basically dishes inside of a 0.93 square inch, roughly 11 gram piece of
a boosh.
So
just
a boosh. Yeah, there you go.
A boosh.
So and so I think that's the biggest thing.
With anything like what you just said about chocolate and pairing those ingredients with cocktails or spirits or whiskey, it's all it becomes greater than the sum of its parts. And so, absolutely. Chef, I would like to say thank you for joining us tonight. To everyone watching, Chef Phillip is going to be having a virtual chocolate tasting on you said June 3rd or July 3rd?
Our next one is June 5th. The whiskey one where we're featuring you guys is July 3rd.
So next one is June 5th. Uncle Nearest and Chocolate on July 3rd with Chef Phillip. Please join us. That's philipashleychocolates.com, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And then at Phillip Ashley on Instagram. They can find whatever they want. Either of those places.
Yeah, we'll have links to, and we'll post the recipes for the truffle tonight. And I'm going to ask if I could, please, dearest Chastity, yes. Will you close us out with a beautiful toast?
Oh,
putting you on the spot.
Oh, me or Chef?
You. You.
You are the
speak from your heart. Let the spirit move you.
Do you have any fun toast?
I'm gonna let you have it because apparently you must be the Toastmaster.
So, you're the Toastmaster.
Not really.
Yes. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. I've been talking plenty.
Well, after this demonstration, all I can say is I'm sweet on chocolate, like I'm sweet on Uncle Nearest, and cheers to you, Chef, and all of our fans and whiskey family. And I want you all to drink honorably and enjoy your night.
Cheers all.
Cheers. Delicious.
Guys. Oh yes. Can't wait to attend your virtual tasting and